Hello and welcome back to my studio. My name's Catherine and today we're going to do a fast loose beach, and I'm going to use this Hake brush to put water onto the paper. This is a paper that's 25% cotton, so it's got quite a heavy coating of sizing, so the paint, as you can see, is going to float on top a little bit, which I rather like. So this is cobalt blue, and I'm just wiping it on with a hardware brush and mixing a little bit of grey. I have got the pencil drawing in, but this is all going to be done with this hardware store brush. And I really like it. It's a little workhorse for me. It means that I don't fiddle. It means that I put paint down in a more random way, and the water, it settles into the water and gives really nice effects. So that sort of cloud is angled in a diagonal, which is very dynamic. A diagonal is very dynamic on the picture plane, compositionally. And you see I was just wiping a little bit of water underneath that blue just to bleed it out into the page so it's not hard lines. Now I'm getting raw sienna. I have got a pencil drawing underneath there, and this is just a bit of raw sienna. And I'm just washing this in, a bit of burnt sienna to warm it up. Just sort of drawing in the headland, the beach dune that's backing the beach here. Just being a little bit careful about the way I use the brush to get some sort of texture going. I scrub it on, and that does leave some nice sort of texture that makes you feel when you look at it that it's actually the side of the dune. And then I've gone in with some darker paint, a bit juicier, so less water in it. And I'm mixing cobalt blue and raw sienna, which makes it a lovely sort of green. It does go a little bit green because obviously sienna's a little bit yellow. So now I've got my card, and I'm just wiping that paint around, being a little bit careful about where I'm doing it. I do want to run the dune along the back beach there, but then I'm just scraping it up to the top of the dune and then bringing it back down again. And that is going to leave some lovely sort of abstract areas, and the paint will settle and dry, and you don't go back in. And then your eye will make that out to be grasses and bits of vegetation or whatever. We don't need to paint in every blade of grass here. So now I'm just darkening up the base of it a little bit. And I'm going to leave the tip of the headland there, just where I'm sort of drawing, a little bit of drawing going on with the end of that prickly brush. I'm going to leave that as if the sun was just illuminating that point. So that is a bit of planning and forethought. It's not completely random. And then I'm going to make the foreground. I mixed a grey from the cobalt blue, a bit of burnt sienna and a bit of raw sienna. But I'm just making a grey too, because I want the foreground to be a little bit darker, as if a shadow has come across the beach. So that's pretty wet, and I got my razor blade out and I was just drawing some lines in, and you can't really see this, but where you score the paper, the paint then will fill it in and it goes quite dark. So instead of using a pen line to draw, I can use the edge of the tip of this little razor blade, which I really like. It's a good way to get lines into my work without using a pen, which is another option. But I prefer this because it it blends with the watercolor better than a pen would. A pen would sort of stand out as a different instrument, whereas you're actually using the watercolor to draw. It's rather nice. You should try it out sometime. So now I'm darkening the shadow in the foreground a little bit more. Got a little bit more paint on my brush. you got to be a little bit careful with not getting too much water. Every time you go back on, you want a little bit more paint on your brush. So this is just a palette knife, and it's a bigger scrape, and I was hoping to get, well, you can see it just did there. I was hoping to get a bit of light to wipe some of the paint off, but I think it was too dry, and it did score in, and a little bit of colour bled into it, but it didn't really want to make a lighter mark, but that's okay. So here I decided to darken the edge of the sky, which again gives a sort of a perspective, because when you look at the sky, the bottom part would be further away from you than if you look up, which is closer to you. You've got less atmosphere. So your atmospheric perspective means that it'll be darker blue at the top, lighter blue at the bottom. So I just beefed that up a bit. But you can see there's shine on the paper, so that was still pretty wet. The water was sitting around on top of this paper for quite a while, which is good, because then it means the paint will move out and you won't get sort of backruns and blooms and carry on. Okay, now this is a little bit of a sort of a turquoisey colour for the sea. And I just was using it so that I got some speckly lines, so that you've got the idea of waves on the edge of the sea there. So now I'm mixing up something. Oh yes, it's going to be darker. That's had a little time to dry a bit, so I'm just putting in a little bit more texture on that headland. I just wanted to darken it up so that I got the light on the point of the headland, and then I had the dark of the foreground, and then I had another sort of a dark area in the dune on the beach. So I've got lights and darks going on, and I've got the white of the paper, which really is reading as the sky. So I suppose where the blue is probably reading more like a cloud. But I like that diagonal line. I like that dynamic feel that I'm getting. And then that line there is leading you back into the perspective. So you've sort of got a lazy S curve going on. So I quite like the way it's darkened up on that dune. And then I'm just darkening up a little bit more burnt sienna and raw sienna mix, just to help your eye just flow easily back to that far distant headland. And just a little bit more darkening up in the foreground. And that will all move and settle. And then there's going to be a sort of a centre of interest. I'm going to put in a figure with a couple of dogs. You won't know they're dogs unless I tell you, probably. They're just going to be, because they're just going to be very little dots. And I'm using, that's a Posca pen. And I put in a figure there, the two little dots, 3 dots, are the dogs. But somehow your eye actually does read it as such. And then I did give him a red jumper, so that he actually, a little dot of red on his jumper. But that's all you need. And your eye actually, when you look at it, you go, oh, yeah, that's a person, must be a couple of dogs, whatever. So that's the finished painting. I do hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again next time.